What's going on, Chargers fans? Chargers Now is presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Will Ortner. On today's show, we got some good news from the organization itself. That's right. There are a handful of Chargers players that had an excellent offseason. And while we've given you our breakout candidates, we've talked to you about different players that we like on the team, different players that we thought had good off seasons. I thought it'd be fun to talk about three players that absolutely dominated this offseason that the Los Angeles Chargers organization recognized that we haven't really talked about. Now, there's a couple of guys that were listed. Hey, you know what? We've talked about a couple of them, right? Believe it or not, when you do a daily show on the Los Angeles Chargers, you hit on a couple of guys that had some breakout sessions this offseason. But there's a handful of guys that we also really hadn't talked that much about, or in a couple of cases, hadn't talked about at all. That I want to make sure that we gave them their due diligence, and that way you also knew what players to kind of keep an eye on. One, for either are they growing into a brand new role next year, or two, are they a player that's going to go back to living up to expectations? Before we do that, though, I mentioned we do daily videos here. Hit that subscribe button. We're on the road right now to 5,000 subscribers. Do not miss out your opportunity to hit that subscribe button, hanging out with us here on Chargers Now. You'll get all the news and rumors that you'd ever want. Let's talk about running back Keaton Mitchell, because Mitchell is someone that I think there are a lot of Chargers fans that are excited for, and I completely understand why you would be excited for him. Now, he's someone who came over to Los Angeles in free agency, and while he wasn't given a big, crazy lifetime contract, Mitchell was still given a pretty big size contract, and he was someone who, in my opinion, was viewed as a must-have by offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel. And while, again, the contract might be big relative to what he's done so far on the field, and the need for Keaton Mitchell in Los Angeles might be a bit overgrown is probably the wrong word, but certainly a bit hyperbolic, and adding him completely changes this running back room, because I don't think that that is the case. But I think that the Chargers wanted to go and get a big play explosive back to pair with Omarion Hampton. Now, that's not to say that Omarion Hampton cannot play with a Keaton Mitchell, but Keaton Mitchell is someone who is known for getting loose, being able to read the blocks of the offensive line in his own scheme, hit the hole, and absolutely explode through it. But the problem with Keaton Mitchell is that while he might be someone that Mike McDaniel wanted specifically, he's had issues dealing with injuries. He is not someone that has necessarily made it through every single season in his career. So the Chargers were taking a risk on a guy who has had success when he's been on the football field, but is certainly not someone that is a star in the National Football League, and is certainly not someone that has a track record of necessarily reliability. He's been more of a shooting star, a Lamborghini, if you will. If I'm driving my Toyota Camry and I end up getting sideswiped by another car, I'm going to go, oh, that's a bummer. I'll live with a little bit of paint damage. If you sideswipe a Lamborghini, you got to go get that thing taken into the shop, and it takes some time for that thing to be ready to go. And unfortunately, that's just kind of where Mitchell is at right now in his career. But it certainly feels like he's ready to take the next step, and a great offseason for him was something that he needed, and it certainly sounds like he had that offseason from Eric Smith. Mitchell also tallied 11 runs that went for 10-plus yards in 2025 and led the NFL with average run speed of 14.49 miles per hour, according to Next Gen Stats. Mitchell looks smooth this spring, both as a runner and a pass catcher, and could be a fun chess piece for Mike McDaniel to pair with Omarion Hampton in 2026. The Chargers clearly wanted to have a two running back system. I think that they wanted someone a little bit more explosive to pair with Omarion Hampton, being more of your physical back, your bruiser. Obviously, we've seen the picture of him next to Mike McDaniel. The guy is an absolute behemoth. And it certainly feels like the Chargers are in a great spot. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say they took a big Vladimir Guerrero senior type swing for the fences with Keaton Mitchell, but they certainly took a risk. And it certainly sounds like it is paying off right now in Los Angeles. We got more to discuss on today's show, but first I need to let you know that today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports picks app and is the best place to win cash while watching sports. With the baseball season in full swing, There's no better time to cash in with our friends at Prize Picks. And I'll tell you this, the app is really easy to use. To qualify for a Prize Picks lineup, pick 2 to 6 players and select more or less on stat projections, including hits, home runs, strikeouts, and several others across all sports. One thing I love is the new social feeds feature, where you can share Prize Picks with your friends and copy lineups with a single click. You can actually follow me on the app at BigWill7774 to see all of my lineups. I have a lineup for the football action going on later on this year. Quentin Johnston, more on his receiving TDs. Kenyon Sadiq, more on his receiving TDs. Jackson Smith and Jigba, more on his receiving TDs. New user offer. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to receive $50 in lineups. That's code HMA when you play your first $5 lineup to get an extra $50 in lineups with Prize Picks. Clickable link to download the app is in the comments and description. All right, next player who's having a great offseason is Joe Alt. Now, this should come as no surprise to most Los Angeles Chargers fans because of, well, the fact Joe Alt is a really stinking good player. But he's coming off a pretty bad ankle injury, ended up ending his season last year. And so the question was where was he going to progress? Joe Alt has certainly been someone that has put his pedal to the metal when it comes to trying to progress himself this offseason. And it's clear that he's putting himself into a position where he is progressing rather nicely. Now, the interesting thing that's going to be is where does Alt end up putting himself as far as the injury status throughout the year? Because he has to show that he's going to be able to hold up through the entire season. Are you worried about the injuries for this Chargers team? We talked about Keaton Mitchell having a bad injury history. We've talked about Joe Alt now. He's coming off an injury. He's had a bad injury history, not as bad as Rashawn Slater's. Now, some of this is luck. Hand up. Some of it is luck. But are you worried about injuries that seem to keep befalling this Los Angeles Chargers team? Let me know, yes or no, in our comment section. I'm going to say no, but I'm an optimist. Eric Smith had this to say about Joe Alt. Alt said earlier this month that he was essentially full go this spring, noting that he has been feeling pretty good out there. Alt's recovery and progression was impressive, especially considering how much running the Chargers are now asking of their offensive line. Now, this is another piece of great news for the Los Angeles Chargers because Joe Alt, he's your present and he's also your future. You need him to be ready to go when it's his time to be called upon, but you also, and I think this is more important, need him to be able to fit well into this system, and that's certainly something that he said he's really enjoyed. Now, both Slater and Alt obviously are holding down this offensive line where they need to show some certain improvement, not necessarily those two, but from the entire offensive line as a whole. It was the big Achilles heel last year for this Chargers team, and it really held them back, and because of that Achilles heel, really put the Chargers behind the 8 ball, and they were lucky to make the postseason. If these two guys can stay healthy, I'm telling you right now, Los Angeles Chargers are going to be in a great spot. I think you're probably going to see a victory come their way. Lastly, let's talk about Genesis Smith because the rookie safety is absolutely having an off season for himself. He was someone that you knew you had to get younger in that safety room. And so the Chargers decided on day 3 to go and get Genesis Smith and hope that they were going to be able to build themselves into a position with Smith. Give him a year or two behind some of these older safeties and then see where he ends up. See if he can't put himself into a spot where he's playing significant minutes for this team. Certainly sounds like he will be playing significant minutes for this team. Might just be playing them sooner rather than later. Here's what Eric Smith had to say on Genesis Smith's offseason. Perhaps it was an interception here or pass breakup there, but rookie Genesis Smith surely flashed this spring as he seemingly made play every day in the secondary. Smith, a recent 4th-round pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, had 14 passes defensed, 4 forced fumbles, and 5 interceptions in 37 games at Arizona. Chargers defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary said Smith's anticipation and natural ability stood out this spring. Now it's up to the Bolts' youngest player, Smith won't turn 22 until November, to push for playing time in training camp. Smith is someone that, one, is going to add to this team this year. Now it's probably going to be more so special teams-wise, but the secondary has to get younger. When you look at that safety room, I'm not going to sit here and say that it is ancient. It's old, but, Tony Jefferson has retired before, right? Again, he made a lot of plays this spring. had a very good spring year. And I would not say that Tony Jefferson is long in the tooth or past his time to have success in the league. That's wrong. But you're going to have to get younger, and you're going to have to get younger sooner rather than later. Why not do it with a guy like Genesis Smith? Because I certainly think that he is someone that's going to add into this team. The secondary had to get younger. You had to find a way to really push forward and move into that next iteration. I think you found your guy who's going to help you do that. Who will have the best rookie season for the Chargers? Go down and below in our comment section. Let me know someone that you think is in the position to have the best season possible. Now, I think it would be easy to go with Keaton Mitchell. Now, after this conversation, it might be easy to go with a guy by the name of Genesis Smith, maybe Jake Slaughter. Maybe you're throwing a Brennan Thompson in there. For me, I'm looking out for Dame Tucker, man. This kid is electric from everything that I've heard. He's a UDFA, not even a draft pick guy. A ton of sacks last year for defensive coordinator Chris O'Leary. Not saying that that's necessarily what he's going to be this year, but to sit here and say that this kid couldn't play himself onto this team, I think is wrong. I think that he will. Subscribe to the channel. Don't miss any Chargers news all off season long. Hey, we're a month away, 1 month from Chargers football being back in our lives. Real practices, real games, 1 month away. Hit that sub button. Don't miss out on any of the content we've got coming on the channel. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. Make sure you go tell someone that you love them. And as always, bolt up.